Hi everybody, Dan Illman, Matt Bernier kicking off a 50-cent pick 4 with race number 5 at Gulfstream Park on Pegasus World Cup Saturday. It's the $150,000 ladies turf sprint. Fillies and mares going 5 furlongs on the green. Make sure to bet the race on the card with a DRF Bets account. Sign up at bets.drf.com, deposit $50, bet with $200, ready, set, bet with DRF Bets. Let's meet the field for the ladies turf sprint. Peter Miller and Jason Service earlier on the Gulfstream card. Well, they're going to have the two best turf sprinters in the country battling it out when Stormy Liberal and World of Trouble face each other in the Gulfstream Park turf sprint. Not to be outdone, in the ladies turf sprint, Matt, Miller's got 2, Service has 2.
It's going to be interesting to see what we get here. Maybe, you know, you take a look at that third race. That really is the marquee matchup. Like you say, Stormy Liberal, World of Trouble, speed, stalking, X, Y, and Z. This race, I think you can be a little bit more creative. I think there are some more opportunities and some more logical contenders in here than maybe just 1 or 2 horses. Having said that, those 2 trainers, they pretty much own this race.
If you're sick of Miller and Service, how about Rusty Arnold's number 5, Morticia? Because she's as honest as the day is long. She's won 7 of 18 starts, and she finished ahead of 3 of these common foes, most recently in the local prep back on December the 29th. She has good tactical speed, and she usually runs a race in the low to mid-90s. She's rock solid.
I was going to say, I think that's the best thing about her is that you, more often than not, she's going to show up. Now, sometimes it's good enough to win, sometimes it's not, but she is honest. She's 7 of 18 lifetime. She's never been out of the exacta in 4 lifetime starts at Gulfstream. 2 of those are victories. This distance, this is her bread and butter. She has the co-highest last out buyer in the field with a 93. There's a lot to point you toward her, and if you actually think you're going to get the 3.5 to 1, which you might, that's a pretty square number.
The other filly with the last out 93 buyer is one of the Miller duo down towards the rail, the number 1, Surrender Now. A stakes winner on dirt is a 2-year-old, but she has really come around since being switched to the turf and racing at 5 furlongs. I know she didn't beat the strongest field last time out at Del Mar. I really like the way she did it. Here's a Miller formulator fact concerning Surrender Now. Past 6 months, horses 4-year-olds and up, last out winners on the turf, 42% winners, 15 of 19 on the board, and a 430 ROI. Does this hike in class concern you?
No, to be honest with you, because she has been so impressive in each of these past 2 races, and they're her only 2 turf races on her page. And really, it shouldn't be a huge shock. Now, you and I, she was part of a race of the day 2 starts back where she won at 29 to 1 or 23 to 1, excuse me. But like you had made mention, she's a stakes winner as a 2-year-old, and unfortunately, she got hurt and she had to miss some time, and a number of things just didn't go her way. But the talent has always been there, and it just feels like now, as a now newly turned 4-year-old, she put it all together on the grass. I think the bigger concern for me, and I know she has a little bit of versatility, but boy, being down on that rail, there's going to be a number of horses that want to go. I think Luis Saez has to use a little bit early on it. And again, I think she's probably better with using a target sitting off of a horse. And I don't know that she's going to have that necessarily work ideal for her.
Timeform US kind of agrees with you, Matt. We take a look at that pace projector. They're expecting a fast pace, and they're expecting Saez to throw the throttle down with Surrender Now and make the front. I'm not sure she's as fast as her uncoupled stablemate Painting Corners. I think Painting Corners, the number 3, is wickedly fast, and I think she's going to make the lead. And maybe Surrender Now will tuck into a spot in the pocket and hope to get a shot at her in the stretch. Just look at what Painting Corners did in her most recent turf race 2 starts back, going down the hill at 6.5 furlongs, setting fractions of 20 and 4, 42 and 1, then opening up a clear lead in the stretch. She had every right to get tired that day, and 5 furlongs, that hasn't been a problem for her in the past. If she clears off, they may not catch her.
No, and really that's the most difficult thing. Now, I've said it before a number of times. I'm not the sort of expert as far as turf sprints are concerned. They're the bane of my existence. But at the same time, you look at it, and how many times have we seen a race that looks like there's a ton of speed signed on, and all of a sudden, whoever is just naturally the fastest gets out there and says, come and catch me, and nobody can. I think if that's the case, I think Painting Corners, you brought it up, really the difference for this filly has been since they put blinkers on. She's really just turned a corner, draw a line through that Las Ciénegas most recently off the turf. I think she's probably, well, I shouldn't say probably, I hope she's a little bit dirtied up because of that, and I hope the price is a little bit higher than maybe it should be.
Let's move to the 2 service train runners, beginning with the 6, Just Talkin, who finished a solid 4th last time out behind Morticia. I think Service was using that race as merely a prep. It was her first start since August, 2nd off the layoff. This mare has shown the ability to stay closer to the pace than what we saw last time out. I think that's going to happen here. She's run well at Gulfstream in the past. She's a sleeper at a nice price for Arad Ortiz.
I was going to say, if you're looking for a little bit more of a middling price, somewhere in that high single-digit range, maybe this is the filly for you, or the mare at this point. She's 6 years old. Like you say, that most recent run, probably nothing more than a means to an end. And you have those 2 races at Gulfstream in March of 2018. If she can run one of those from a figure standpoint, she's right there.
Another horse for Service that might have needed the last race is Blue Bahia, who was returning off about a 5-month layoff in the Claiming Crown Distaff. She showed her customary early speed. She paid the price, but the winner of that race came back to win a stake on dirt at Delta Downs. Blue Bahia has shown the ability to sit, and I think that's key because Paco can break well with this horse and settle on the outside.
I was going to say, I think the outside draw, usually we talk about it in 5/8 races not being a positive. I think in this instance it is, because she has enough speed to get up and establish some position, but she doesn't have to go winging it out there, and I don't think she's going to be too wide rounding the far turn. Keep in mind, in this race last year, she was on her way to winning until she took just an awful step, and Paco did right by the filly and just pulled her up and said, we don't need to go on with this. She came back. She won a stakes race in her next start when nothing was wrong. She's a major player.
3rd start of the form cycle for the 8, Smiling Causeway, 10 of 15 in the exact in her career. Might have been just a bit too close to the pace last time. I know she won that Turf Amazon gate to wire way back in July, but she battled through some fast fractions. She ended up finishing 3rd. Smiling Causeway is always solid, but she really only has that one big race on her page.
Yeah, I was going to say that 100 buyer, that's the only one that jumps off the screen to you. But at the same time, she reminds me of maybe a slightly lesser version of Morticia. I don't mean that in a negative light. I think she makes sense. She can certainly win this race. I view her and Morticia very similarly. They both show up, they run. I think Morticia's slightly better.
Trainer Pat Biancone removed the blinkers on Razorback Lady last time out. It resulted in a victory at 36-1. Here's a formulator fact for Biancone and Razorback Lady. Past 3 years with 4-year-olds and older, last out winners on the turf, 41% winners, a $6.42 ROI. That being said, this is a gigantic step up in class, and she's going to be facing perhaps the fastest pace she's ever seen in her career.
Yeah, look, she's in good form at this point, coming in with a victory, but just on paper, she's very, very tough to make.
Cherry Lodge cuts back in distance for Todd Pletcher. Just found the mile a little bit too far. They've tried 2 turns now twice. It's been a carbon copy. She's gone to the lead both times. She's tired. She just doesn't want to go that far. She was in against some pretty nice horses. The 4th place finisher came back to win the Marshuas River with a 92 buyer. Turning back in distance is okay for Cherry Lodge, but she's going to be facing some other quality speeds.
Yeah, and that's the problem, or at least for me anyway, going through this race. All 3 wins have been in gate-to-wire fashion. I'd be absolutely stunned if she was on the lead, given the other speeds in here. But I suppose you go back to this race last year, she did make up some ground coming from off the pace, and she only lost by a length. So maybe that's the sort of tactics that'll be employed here.
Ms. Mayhem regressed a little bit last time out at Gulfstream Park when bet down to 3-1, finishing behind Morticia. I couldn't find much of an excuse for a horse that historically has run very well at Gulfstream. Maybe she came back too soon off that race at Tampa?
Yeah, it's possible, but to be honest with you, that run at Tampa, I feel like that's the only truly representative run that would be good enough to win in a spot like this. To me, she's just a little bit on the lesser side. To me, she reminds me kind of Smiling Causeway.
Pastime is a nibbler. She likes to get pieces of the pie. She does not have a lot of early speed. She is probably going to be coming from far back. And at 5 furlongs on the turf, no matter where you are, you better be motoring late to run these horses down.
I mean, if the pace heats up front, maybe she can come and get a piece. I would be using her underneath, if at all.
Pick time for the ladies' turf sprint. In the battle between Miller and Service, we both go with Peter Miller. Surrender Now is my top selection in this race. I think she'll be a slightly better price than Painting Corners because she hasn't faced the quality of competition that Painting Corners has faced. Surrender Now has to deal with a layoff, and that is somewhat of a concern, but I'll trust Miller in this situation. This filly's run well fresh in the past. I'll go 1-3. You like Painting Corners. She's probably the fastest out of the gate.
That's kind of how I'm looking at it. And again, you're supposed to draw a line through the most recent effort. Prior to that, you've got 3 races, all with blinkers, and they're all bang-up races. I think she's really, really solid in here.
Picking off a 50-cent pick 4 with race number 5. Give me numbers.
31-10-5.
Should be a fun race. The ladies turf sprint. Make sure to bet it with a DRF Bets account. Easy sign up at bets.drf.com. You deposit $50. You bet with $200. It's magic. Approximate post time for race number 5, 1:31 Eastern. Best of luck.